Okay, I'm here to help you with assignment 2, questions 8 and 9, but you may want to watch this video that's also posted on electric force field equals 0. It's a 10-minute video and gives you some good background. So there were two situations. Question 8 is the situation where the two charges are the same charge. And it doesn't really matter whether they're both positive or both negative. If both of the charges are positive and negative, then the place where the electric field is 0 is the same place as where the electric force on a third charge would be 0. It's got to be in the middle, and it's got to be closer to the smaller charge, right? Because if this is Q1 and this is Q2, then this is E1 and this is E2, and they're not going to be, if the charges aren't equal, the fields aren't going to be equal unless the distances are different. And so where the charge is bigger, the distance has to be greater to compensate for the bigger charge. So what you do is you label your diagram the x, the unknown x that you want, and the question prompts you to find the point as the distance from Q1, right? So I'm going to call that x. The distance between the charges we'll just call d. And so we want to find where the magnitude of E1 is equal to the magnitude of E2, right? So we just want to find the location where the magnitude of E1 is equal to the magnitude of E2, because if the magnitudes are equal, the direction from the diagram is obviously opposite. And so this is KQ1 over what? Over x squared. And this equals KQ2 over, be careful, it's not x, it's not d, it's this distance from the point, right? We're calculating the field at the point. From the point to the charge is d minus x, but you're going to square it. And so all you got to do is solve this equation. And to make it easy, just, well, this is Q1 and Q2, just divide both sides by k, and then cross multiply or multiply both sides by x squared and both sides by d minus x squared. And then I'm going to divide by Q1. So watch, do the algebra. Pause and do the algebra. So I hope you get that result. I hope I didn't make a mistake. Looks good. And don't do the complicated thing of multiplying out the quadratic. Take the square root of both sides. So take the square root of both sides and see what you get. That's what you should have. Now finish the algebra to solve for x. Pause the video and do that. Did you get that? Notice I made a mistake here. This should be Q2 and this should be Q1. And so we added x to both sides. You end up with this. And so x is equal to d divided by that thing in the brackets. Okay, now let's go to question 9. So question 9 has a positive and negative charge. And given what I'm showing you, pause the video and pick the point where the electric field is going to be 0. Same as the point where a force on any charge would be 0. So see if you can locate that point before I show you. Okay, I hope you picked a point over here. Actually, you have to be closer. So the field due to Q1, this is Q2, is going to be away from the positive charge toward the negative charge. We're further away from the bigger charge, so those two vectors could cancel. But I realized that in the problem on Moodle, the electric charge is going to be smaller. So let's redo this. I meant the negative charge is going to be smaller. So where's the point now? So where would be the point where the electric field is 0 now? Write that down in your figure, and don't just watch me. Draw this on a piece of paper, just like I'm doing it. Okay, this is what you should have. You should have a point here, and then you draw the vector E1 due to Q1. So at this point, Q1 has an electric field in this direction away from it. And at this point, there's a field due to Q2, which goes toward the negative charge. And since the negative charge is smaller, to compensate for the smaller charge, we have to be closer in distance. And so E2 is going to be K, Q2 times the distance from the charge to the point. We call that X. That's what we're trying to find. And E1 is going to be K times the charge causing that field, that's Q1, divided by the distance squared from Q1 to the point. So write that equation out. That's the equation you have to solve. Go ahead and write it out, and then you can check with what I did. Did you do that? You set the magnitudes. You should write that down. Don't be lazy. The magnitudes of the two vectors have to be equal. Okay, write down what the magnitudes of the two vectors are. There's the magnitude of the two vectors, and we can cancel the k's. And now we have to put in what R1 and what R2 are, so do that. Did you get that? I hope so. Okay, now do the algebra. Next step, take the square root. Go ahead, try. Similar to what we did last time, right? Except it's d plus x. Okay, so continue the algebra and solve for x. I'm going to stop the video and let you finish it yourself.